About ready to get this thing started here in a little bit. Who you representing? Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears? Put it in the comments. We'll get this thing started here in a little bit. Football talk with Russell Wayne, NFC North. We're trying to move everybody over to the YouTube channel so we can check out the comments. We're streaming into 8 different platforms. Oh, look at that T1. Let's go. Yeah. Welcome one, welcome all, ladies and gentlemen. Got started a little bit late today, and that's okay. That's okay, man. I had to get everything all put together. Welcome to the program. This is NFC North Talk with your host, me, Russell Wayne, and I actually already have main event Mike on the line. Has been waiting patiently. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, can I get a large pizza with pepperoni, sausage, mushrooms, green pepper, and onion, please? Delivered.
Yep, it's on its way right there. So please.
Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, sorry, I got the other line on hold. My bad. Oh, hey, Russ, what's up?
Oh, anything above 5'10" for me. And that's what. So wanted to say good morning to the people that are out there. We are broadcasting live right now into my page, Detroit Lions News, Detroit Lions Villain Squad, Mike the Bear fan, Bill the Packer fan, and what we found out yesterday is that the YouTube channel is the best place to go. That's where we want to put everybody over. So please go subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you can watch these broadcasts each and every morning at 11 a.m. talking NFC North football. That's
at Main Event 365 at YouTube.
That's at Main Event 365, and you got to spell the main like the Lions main, baby, because the Lions are about ready to win this NFC North. So, gosh, welcome to the program, everybody that's out there. Sarah is one of my favorite Viking fans. Michael, there, Detroit Lions represent. Bear Down Mike representing the Bears. We got some representation in here. Let's go. Good morning. Good morning from Nikki. Let's go Minnesota Vikings. That's what she says. And then and then there's Barry, the Scottish Go Pack, Go You Can'ts. I think that he means something else. And then Sarah says, hit the like button. Yeah, you can do that. I love it when you hit the like button. I love that there are like 20 people right now watching a talking head talk about NFL football in August. But there's a game tonight, Mike.
I know that. I'm so excited. I'm still the fact that you're 5'10", you're the same height as Bryce Young.
I'm the same height as Bryce Young. That should be a big question mark. If you're talking about that. But let's talk. We're going off the cuff because you brought up something yesterday that I want to talk about. If Bryce Young becomes the man in the NFL, what are the Chicago Bears going to do?
They're going to say things about passing on Mahomes.
They're going to say the same thing.
Knew. Mitch Trubisky looked like the best pick at the time. Blah blah.
He did, and Justin Fields looked like the best pick at the time. But if this guy goes in, that's a pretty good team in Carolina, minus the quarterback problem, right? And then they draft Bryce Young, number 1 overall, and if it's possible, if he's really good, the Bears fans are never gonna hear the end of it.
Not for me.
You're going to give it to him, or you're not going to give it to him?
Every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, we're not inviting people on to this program in the morning anymore until after you go. You don't get a shot at the King of Sting unless you come to our Monday night program. So if you want, if you want your chance to get shredded by Main Event Mike, the King of Sting, you're going to have to come to the Mondays program because right now I'm privileged enough to be able to talk to you.
I'm the Roman Reigns. I'm the Roman Reigns of trash talk. SummerSlam reference.
There you go. SummerSlam is this week. Yesterday I was wearing my Roman Reigns shirt and I didn't even acknowledge it. And then it said acknowledge me on it. And I didn't acknowledge the tribal chief yesterday in SummerSlam. And that is Main Event Mike. He is the Roman Reigns. He is the tribal chief of Smack Talk, the King of Sting. So if you want your crack and you want to go at him, you got to come out on Monday nights. Lions Nation live here, right? So give me some more of this, Mike. I want to know what you really give me your deeper thoughts on this Bryce Young. What if he is good?
I watched Jamison Williams highlights just the other day, because I wanted to go back and revisit what are we really looking at with this guy. And instead of watching Jameson Williams highlights, I ended up watching Bryce Young highlights because every throw this kid made was on the money in a tight, beautiful spiral. Maybe some of the best throws I've ever seen as far as mechanically sound and how perfect they look. He operates exclusively out of the shotgun. That's going to be something different from him and Frank Reich's offense. Frank Reich likes to put the quarterback under center, especially during play action scenarios. He's not an RPO coach. So I think that there is going to be an adjustment. There's going to be a learning curve for Bryce Young. Operating in the shotgun also helped him see over the line because he's so small. But he's operated this way his entire career. He's always been undersized at every level, but the kid can throw, and that's what it's about. It's about football IQ, playing the quarterback position. It's about football IQ and accuracy, and he has both of those things in spades. You know what else he has? Mobility, ability to extend plays and get out of the pocket like Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts or some of these mobile quarterbacks we see coming to prevalence in the NFL. So he's got all that stuff. He's got the coaching. And you know what else he's got? He's got a great team around him. Something that I don't think Mitch Trubisky ever had a great team around him. Maybe a good team, not a great team. But he has a solid defense, a solid O-line, a run game. They brought in some free agent veterans at wide receiver to help him. Hayden Hurst at tight end. The kid is all set up for success. All he needs is 2 more inches of height. But he does have all the tools and everything around him to be successful. And I think Bears are going to be kicking themselves if Darnell Wright's not a perennial Pro Bowler.
Yeah, man. I mean, and the reports that I was reading out is like the Bears defense won the days in practice. And I know that we don't put a ton of stock into the practice spot, but you got to be worried if you're a Bear fan and Justin Fields is struggling against that defense. Did you guys really get that much better on defense that isn't like you're not concerned about that at all? I want to know that, especially from Bear Down Mike, because he's always in there. But any other Bear fans in there, are you concerned at all with how Justin Fields is playing? And that's the only reason we bring up this subject is because you had Bryce Young. You had him sitting right in your lap, and you traded him for Darnell Wright.
I'm going to go ahead and jump in here so that all the Bear fans can hit delete on the comments that they're in the middle of typing right now. Yeah, Chicago Bears. These are reports out of training camp. I don't even know how much do we trust these, Russ. I mean, that could be John Dorn making a meme just to troll the Bears.
No,
right?
this was from.
If you look in the comments of that post, you got actual Bear fans who are commenting. He was 21 of 26 in camp today. Nice try. So. I'm not sure I put a whole lot of stock in it, but if it is true, what do we always harp on about the Bears? Yeah, they got better in the offseason, but they're not deep enough, right? They have too many holes. Right. The next man up is not a starter anywhere in the NFL. So if this is true that he's getting burnt by the second team defense, who essentially are scrubs in Chicago, if he's getting burnt there, it's going to be a long season for Justin Fields and Bear fans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put too much stock into it, and I got it from where Justin Fields actually gave credit to the defense for winning the day, and that was the report that I got, and that's coming straight from Chicago. It's not like it wasn't John Dorn's it wasn't John Dorn's his other account or anything like that. So he did struggle against the defense, but I mean, it could be bad too. I mean, it doesn't, when it comes to training camp, I mean, what are you going to say about that? But that's the only reason I bring up the Bryce Young thing is because of that. If you bet on Justin Fields and you made him feel better because you traded down and you didn't take that next generation quarterback, will they regret it? And Eric Thomas says no. And Gary Tennant says 12 wins for the Lions this season. Okay. Or this year. John Dorn says, I would take the Bears secondary over the Lions.
Then you're a fool.
Oh, gosh. Well, they got a pretty good
guy. The starting secondary.
Yes, starting secondary. Yeah.
Starting secondary. Yeah, the Bears got a good starting secondary. I don't think that's too outlandish for John Dorn to say he would take the Bears secondary over the Lions. This secondary in Detroit hasn't been proven. They were the worst in the league last year behind Minnesota, besides Minnesota, and they've revamped the secondary, but we don't know what it is yet. So I don't think that's an outlandish claim. The secondary is a place of strength for the Chicago Bears. And they also drafted Tyreek Stevenson from the U, a player that you and I looked at as possibly a target for the Lions. He's tall, long and lean and fast. And they've already got Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, and Ejac back there. So the Bears got a good secondary, and they've got a good linebacking crew. So the back seven is really good, but they have no pass rush at all.
Right.
So that's going to be tough.
Well, we'll see how that works out, but that's an excellent call right there, Mike. Bear Down Mike says Justin was at a press conference, says that he wants the offense to get hyped just like the defense does. And yeah, I mean, giving kudos to your other guys. I mean, this is practice. You want to stack good practices, and I know that the connection they say between Justin Fields and DJ Moore is real. So that's another thing they've been saying. If you want to go on the positive tip right there. So let's see.
Imagine DJ Moore's probably saying, finally, a quarterback that can overthrow me properly.
Yeah, you can make some plays in there too. Eric Thomas says that look at the Claypool thing is smoke and mirrors. And he also says the linebacker corps is going to help tremendously. Okay. I mean, you definitely got better linebacker. No one's going to deny that. And the Bears secondary is good. I don't have any problem with John Dorn saying that. We have an unproven secondary.
Russ, which I need these Bear fans to clarify for me. Which is it? Because last year when we say how bad Justin Fields is, they said, well, look, he had terrible receivers. And now this year we're like, yeah, you got terrible receivers. They're like, no, Mooney and Claypool are solid. So which is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's usually whatever suits your take at the time. And it is really hard to look at the things objectively. I mean, we've been trying to do this all summer long, and it really is. Like when you have to look at these teams and you have to give them kudos where they actually get kudos, it's weird because I just want to say that all their players suck. I really do. As the fan wants me to say, hey, look, your secondary ain't no good. They're all unproven, blah, 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 right? But Jaquan Brisker is a real deal. You know, Kyler Gordon was pretty good as a slot corner. And then they drafted another guy. Yeah. So I have no problem with you saying that, John Dorn. You know,
I'll tell you what, Bears fans are a totally separate breed. I've never seen anything like it. The Minnesota Vikings have been to 4 Super Bowls. The Green Bay Packers have won 4 Super Bowls. If you take out the 85 Super Bowl, the Bears are a Detroit Lions. So stop clapping back. Let's stop.
I mean, he's all right. And I don't think that we're getting too much badness in here. Sarah says the Panthers have a better O-line than the Bears, though I don't know if Bryce Young would have succeeded with the Bears. I don't know if Bryce Young's going to succeed in Carolina. I mean, I ain't buying all that smoke. I mean, he's my size, and I know I couldn't play. I mean, I don't have the zip or anything like that, but like these guys are big. These guys are world-class athletes that he's going to go up against. He's going to have a hard time at 5'10" seeing over his own offensive line. So you're going to have to scheme an offense that is going to get him out of the pocket so he can see where his receivers are. And in the NFL, people can scheme against that. So him playing at a disadvantage his whole career doesn't mean shit until he got into the NFL, where it's hard. It's hard to make it like that. Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, don't make that the floor here, guys. That's the ceiling. That's the ceiling.
Smaller than Bryce Young. Both of those guys you mentioned, and so is Kyler Murray.
Right. Smallest. You're not only are you're there, but you're smaller than those guys. So let's not I don't blame the Bears. I think the Bears made the correct move by trading down and getting value for the next 2 years, getting first round draft picks this year and next year, and passing on the quarterback and betting on Justin Fields. I will say that.
I have to agree. I have to agree that if I were Ryan Poles, I may have done the same thing. I may not have taken Darnell Wright or slid down as far as 10 the way he did. But I definitely think they made the right call by not drafting. But time will tell. Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech looked like a gunslinging quarterback, but not we didn't see it coming that he would be as good as he is. And I don't think it's a product of Andy Reid's system. I think if Mahomes played in Chicago, he'd be just as badass as he is now.
Well, Mike, it's Bajack, not D-Jack. I think he's correcting you in pronunciation here.
Isn't it Eddie Jackson?
Is it what? But what is it?
Isn't Eddie Jackson?
Eddie Jackson?
Isn't that his name? The safety in Chicago, Eddie Jackson.
Eddie Jackson. You might have accidentally called him D-Jack. No.
E-Jack. E is an elephant.
E is an E. Okay. Oh, okay. E-Jack. E-Jack.
He has an exaggerated quarterback in Chicago.
E is an exaggerated quarterback in Chicago. Okay. Oh, Shay, why aren't you talking about Gibbs dropping balls and fumbling, or Williams dropping balls yesterday before that good catch? Why am I not talking about it? I guess I'll talk about it right now. To Gibbs, I didn't know that he was dropping balls. I know that he fumbled the ball. I know that that Jack Campbell came in from behind and made a great play on a ball running up from behind him. I don't even think that he saw him knock the ball out of his hand. Yeah. Gibbs fumbled the ball. Williams did have 4 dropped balls yesterday, but he had a great practice. He followed it up by having a great practice today. He caught a long bomb, scored a couple touchdowns, had 6 catches. So yeah, Williams had a bad practice this week, and he had a very good practice this week. And the things they're talking about Gibbs is that they didn't think he was as fast as he is. And it is going to be a weapon. It is going to be an outlet for Jared Goff this year, and you're going to have to deal with it. So there, I talked about it. You want to talk about it, Mike?
I think it's a lot to do about nothing. As much as I don't like the Green Bay Packers, if Aaron Jones dropped a pass in training camp, I don't think it's news. Okay. I don't think it's news that Jameson Williams had a couple of drops. Do you remember a couple of years ago, Jamar Chase in training camp couldn't catch a ball? Right. Could not catch a ball in training camp, and everybody labeled him a bust right out of the gate. Turns out to be one of the most prolific wide receivers in the NFL today. So I'm not worried about it. It's a non-issue. It's a non-story. Even if it wasn't the Lions, I think it would still be a non-issue. A fumble or a drop pass in training camp is a non-story no matter where you're at.
Yeah, and especially if Williams isn't even going to be playing until week 7, it's even more of a non-issue because this isn't relevant to now. But they did.
I don't want to anyone, though. We are not above talking about non-issues.
Yeah, we definitely talk about
hypothetical. We were talking about hypotheticals. What if Bryce Young turns out to be the next Patrick Mahomes,
right?
And every big fan shoots themselves. So, I mean, that's a hypothetical. That carries just as much weight as a drop pass in training camp. It doesn't mean a thing.
Oh, okay. So Sarah says, sorry to tell you, but Claypool is a bust. Both Claypool and Hawkinson got traded at some time, and Hawkinson picked up the system and was very effective for us. Gosh, I love how that is so funny that it's Claypool is a bust, but Hawkinson isn't.
Well, no, Hawkinson's already a proven commodity. He's the top 10 tight end in the league, and he's going to be paid as such. That's the real issue, not his ability.
Right, but Claypool being a bust, both Claypool and Hawkinson got traded at some time. Yeah, you know what? And they both got first or they both got second round draft picks for him. And Hawkinson is a top 10 tight end. He's like 10. He's there. He's 10. He's 9 or 10. Like he was good for Detroit. He dropped a lot of balls here. Like, and the knock on him the entire time he was here. And this isn't just us talking now after he's gone. This is something that was brought on talk radio week after week after week. When is he going to break out? When is he going to do more after the catch? Because he just catch the ball and fall down. This has been an ongoing thing. If you can fix that over there in Minnesota, I mean, he's got the skills. They had Hawkinson as a really, really good blocker. He wasn't a really good blocker for us. So that is what it is. And Claypool had the one good season, talked about how he was just as good as Calvin Johnson, and then never did anything after that.
Yeah, his measurables are the same as Calvin Johnson, nearly. He's nearly the same height, same weight, same length arms. And he didn't have a great season in Pittsburgh. He had some good games in Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin is a real process-oriented coach. And the reports out of Pittsburgh was Claypool just would not adhere to the processes that Tomlin put in place. So they shipped him out. With TJ Hawkinson, I think it's a little bit different scenario. Dan Campbell, a journeyman tight end in the NFL, played for so many coaches and teams and different systems. He knows the tight end position in and out. He played behind some Hall of Fame tight ends. So he knows what he's looking at. He knows it inside and out. And he decided TJ Hawkinson was not the guy for the job. I think that carries so much more weight than anything Chase Claypool can put together, and we can justify that trade from Pittsburgh to Chicago because Dan Campbell knows the position and said, this ain't the guy.
Right. Not the guy for us, because I'll defend Sarah in going and getting your guy, because he may be a really, really good player for Kirk Cousins in that offense, but it just wasn't the right.
I defended that. Dan Campbell decided that that's not the guy for the Lions.
Right.
Not taking away from TJ Hawkinson. He's a great player, definitely a top 10 tight end, like we said, but you're going to have to pay him as such. And in today's NFL, that's going to hamstring your salary cap.
Right. And that's the biggest knock on it. Sometimes you have to think about the money and the deal at the same time. And gosh, actually I have to come correct. And this is the type of person that I am right here. Yesterday, I misspoke in the Hunter contract because after and it was pointed out to me by the Viking podcast that it was Rick Spielman that actually put that $11 million dead cap in, and I thought that it was Quessy, and it wasn't. It was Rick Spielman was the one that originally did that, and Quessy redid this deal, but he had to deal with what Rick Spielman had did. Now that doesn't. So I come correct with that, but that still doesn't change the fact that I don't think that it was a good deal. I think they should have moved on, and they should have gotten some value from him. If they were going to do anything like that, they should have traded him and thought about the future instead of having a 1-year Band-Aid type of deal. So, and you let your player dictate to what, I mean, right now, the GM for Minnesota Vikings is Danielle Hunter, not Quessy, because he's the one that was in control of that. And that was my point, but I did misspeak, and I wanted to make sure that I put that out there, that it was Rick Spielman that put them in that dead cap situation. So there you go.
And the thing about this TJ Hawkinson thing, it always sticks with me that this was the deepest tight end draft in 20 years. Everybody agreed with that. And what a great time to trade your tight end to get a second-round pick in the deepest tight end draft in history.
Right.
And get Sam Laporta now on a rookie deal for at least 4 years, possibly 5, possibly 6 years. Well, a second-round pick, okay. But anyway, you've got Sam Laporta locked up. This is a guy that they targeted. They went to his pro day. They loved him at the combine. They brought him in for a visit. It just was I think if this kid turns out to be a top 10 tight end like TJ Hawkinson, it was a stroke of genius to get that money off the books, bring in another TJ Hawkinson from the same university with better receiving skills, more open field yards after the catch ability, to get him on a rookie contract. It was a GM stroke of genius by Brad Holmes.
I love it. So we got Jeremy Ballrick in the comments right here. Well, for the first 9 games, Mooney was hurt, but Claypool has always been way overrated, even coming from college. And I'll comment on that because the Claypool trade is looking like a bust right now. Like unless Claypool comes in and has 1,000 yards receiving this year, using a second round draft pick on him was not a good trade if he doesn't ball out this year. So this is in danger. Claypool has been overrated all the way. Even, I mean, here they are. He had a good stretch of games, and that's what you paid the second round pick for, but he hasn't done anything lately. So I like that call right there. You like that? Jason MC says, who of the Detroit linebackers will step up, and can the defensive backs shore up Detroit's biggest weakness last year? Mike, did I lose you?
Repeat the question.
Okay, who is going to step up as far as the Detroit linebackers, and can the defensive back shore up the biggest weaknesses last year? I think is what he's trying to say.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand the question. It's not being worded correctly. Can you do it one more time?
Okay, I'll word it. I'm going to paraphrase for you, because this is what I think he's asking. Who are the stepping up linebackers for the Detroit this year, and can the moves that they made defensive back wise shore up the biggest weakness from last year? 2 questions.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the second question. I think they made the best moves that were possible in the secondary within our salary cap restraints. We weren't going to land Jalen Ramsey. Cam Sutton is not a top 10 cornerback, but he's definitely a second-tier corner. So that is an improvement over Jeff Okudah or Awarie, who we had, who were just, very poor in coverage. Jeff Okudah trying to resurrect his career in Atlanta, we'll see. But as it stands right now, he's one of the biggest busts in NFL history at this point. So I definitely think the only way to go was up in the secondary. They drafted Brian Branch. They brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and they brought in Emmanuel Mosley and Cam Sutton. So, yeah, they made improvements. Will it be enough? We won't know. We really don't know yet. Who are the linebackers that are going to step up? Well, Jack Campbell, they say, has already put a stranglehold on the starting lineup. Malcolm Rodriguez played a lot last year. He's going to be a bench player now. He's going to be a rotational player. You're going to have Anzalone and Jack Campbell out there full-time with Derek Barnes and Malcolm Rodriguez and some of these other no-name linebackers coming in on a rotation. And I think we're going to be really strong in the back seven. I really do. And with our pass rush, it's going to make them even better.
Yeah, I love that call, Mike, because like Jack Campbell, like from our, camp, what's coming out of our camp is this dude's the truth. He's in the middle. He's 6'5". He's flying all over the place. He's making plays like John Dorn brought up earlier. I mean, he brought it up like I'm supposed to like rip on Jahmyr Gibbs for it, but no, that was, if you watch the play, it was him coming flying out of nowhere. He came in and punched the ball out of his hand. That's a good play. That's a linebacker making a play. And
right, and it's 6'5" in week 5 when the Carolina Panthers come to Ford Field. Bryce Young's not going to be able to see over Jack Campbell's jock strap.
Oh my gosh, I got to give you a 3 on that one. You like that? That was good. That's good. And going into the secondary type of stuff, Cameron Sutton is an underrated commodity because what he is really, really good at is being sticky on people. And when he was targeted last year, and the thing is when you're 5'10", you're targeted. I'm sorry. People look at that like they're going to get over on you. And he had a top 5 passer rating as far as the lowest passer rating in the league at covering people. So I think that the signing of Cameron Sutton is being undersold. And yeah, the linebackers, I think it's shored up. I mean, I think that we're 4 deep with really good, solid guys. With Mike and I talked about this couple last year, where it was like, it's going to be great if we can get Anzalone as like the third linebacker coming off the bench. And I think that's what we actually have right now, where he's the third best linebacker on the team. And it's going to play out that way. So, and then the secondary, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he was the best safety in the league last year, or arguably. You led the league in interceptions. You don't think that's an upgrade? I like that. You like that? I only get one. That wasn't as good as yours. Bear Down Mike says the wide receiver core is horrible. As much as I love Mooney, he is a 2 or 3 on a very good team. He was forced into the number 1 and was asked to do too much and got injured.
Right.
That's a great take.
I agree with that. And DJ Moore's a real number 1, but he's on the low end of number 1s in this league.
Right.
And Chase Claypool, do you know that the Pittsburgh Steelers, when they traded Chase Claypool, they got Joey Porter Jr. with the draft pick. That's who they got. That's who they got for Chase Claypool, was Joey Porter Jr., who might be a cornerstone in Pittsburgh out there at the right cornerback position for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, and off the cuff, off subject, how cool is that? If you're a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, that, you had Joey Porter and then you get Joey Porter Jr. too. I mean, that's like a fairy tale. That's awesome.
But, if we look at the players that instead of making that trade, who could the Bears have had? Will Levis is the number 1 guy on the list. Sam Laporta and Michael Mayer went after that. That's a couple of tight ends. They don't really need tight ends in Chicago. Steve Avila was the next pick. The guard from TCU went to the Rams. Derek Hall, outside linebacker. They got Matthew Bergeron. There were a lot of great players available in that second round that they could have gotten instead of being stuck with Chase Claypool. I think that Ryan Poles made a mistake. We'll see this year if Chase Claypool has another bad year. I think it was no doubt they got fleeced in that trade.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody makes mistakes. And, I'm not going to crucify him for that, because he did handle a whole bunch of other stuff really, really well during the offseason. And I really do think that he got a really good guy in Darnell Wright. I think that's going to be a good tackle in this league. We drafted Penei Sewell and we put him at right tackle. So it's like, it's not, you're protecting your quarterback, and he was one of the 5. There were 5 tackles in last year's draft or this year's draft, and they got one of them. And it was the Jets. It was the Jets that missed out because they thought trading from 13 to 15 wouldn't affect them. And it did. So all of the,
right. And then the Steelers fleeced the Jets as well by moving up and taking Broderick Jones.
So, yeah, the Jets, man, they're getting a lot of egg. They're getting a lot of egg on that face. Let me get in here. I got to find my spot again. I did it again. All right, the wide receiver. Okay, here we go.
Hey, Ross.
Yes.
Hey, Ross. There's an NFL football game on tonight.
There is an NFL football game on tonight. Who is stoked about actually watching a meaningless NFL football game tonight as much as we are? Throw that in the comments. Just give me a Y or an N, or if you're actually excited about watching this game tonight. Throw that in the comments. Eric Thomas says that Mooney is good, but he's not a number 1. But Pringle, Pettis, St. Brown, Harry are special teamers at best. So yeah, you're not believing in that wide receiver core much past the depth, which is kind of what you were saying.
Already a proven bust.
Which one is?
N'Keal Harry has already been proven as a bust.
Yeah, you're taking chances on some guys, but you never know. You never know. A lot of these guys, Brad Holmes had done that a couple of times, brought in some guys that were, busts on other team that had some high end, wanted to work and found some gems in that. Charles Harris,
Denzel is another N'Keal Harry.
Right. Yeah. Denzel Mims is N'Keal Harry too. Yep. You guys got one. We got one. They're both busts. Maybe you can make something out of them.
Hey, did one of your just comment that Denzel Mims is N'Keal Harry 2.0?
No, that's Russell Wayne original right there. Do I get a 3 on that? What do you think? What do I get on that? What do I get? A 3-banger, 5-banger? What do I get on that?
Matt, for you, bro, you need to give yourself a 5-banger for that.
You like that. All right. I like that. I get a 5-banger. Is N'Keal Harry is Denzel Mims 2.0. All right. Woody said, I was pissed about Mitch. I wanted Watson. Are you sure you want to say that at this point? Okay. We'll see. We'll see how Deshaun Watson is this year. I don't know if you would want that smoke. I don't think that you meant it that way anyway, but it's good to see you in the comments, Woody. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a call out. That's another quarterback that they took Mitch Trubisky over, who's obviously better than Mitch Trubisky. Another miss. Even if you didn't get Patrick Mahomes, you could have at least justified it. Hey, man, we got Deshaun Watson, who's obviously a quarterback stud in this league. So, yeah, that's a good call out.
I like that one. That is, I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2 on that. Why not? I only got to find this comment in here. Let's see.
Hall of Fame game tonight. Jets versus Browns. You got an over the hill hippie at quarterback versus a sexual predator in Cleveland.
What do you actually think you're going to see any Aaron Rodgers tonight?
Nah, probably not.
I mean, maybe he'll go out for a series because it's the first series of anything. Maybe. Adarian West says
that's A-Dub.
Oh,
that's A-Dub.
Okay, A-Dub. So I know this is going to be a good comment. So, how far can Fields to Moore connection go would be the big question for the Bears. So I'll put that one out there to you from A-Dub.
Well, I think that's just one quarterback to receiver connection. How far can that go on any team? Tyreek Hill and Tua. I mean, that's not the whole team, right? Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. Justin Jefferson, you know, Justin Jefferson accounted for 38% of the Minnesota target share. That's huge. That's the biggest in NFL history last year. And they still were one and done in the playoffs. And they had a much better offense and much better team around Kirk Cousins than Justin Fields has. Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback as a thrower than Justin Fields. So to answer your question, A-Dub, I don't think that's nearly enough to get Chicago over 8 wins.
Yeah, and what I'll say about that is I loved this pickup the minute that it happened. And I mean, I didn't think that they were going to be able to trade that first pick. And they were talking about it, and I went in strong. I thought that nobody was going to want to go up there and pay that. And when he got DJ Moore in that deal, I was just thinking, wow, DJ Moore has been a really good receiver with bad quarterbacks his whole life. And when Justin Fields escapes the pocket, and I seen it happen over and over again, where he would have a dude that's wide open and he wouldn't throw it to him, he'd run it. Now, if DJ Moore can be somebody that he can trust in those moments, I think that could be a dangerous combination. I think that he could be he could be a top 5 wide receiver in a league if that connection works at the ceiling of the way that connection can work. So, Bear fan, I'm scared of that connection. I mean, I'm hoping, you know, as a Lion fan, that we can get pressure, get the Fields first, but him having somebody to go to outside of that pocket is a dangerous thing, because he was historically bad as a thrower last year. And if he's below average, look out.
Yeah, I to answer A-Dub's question, though, I don't think that connection is enough to get him more than 8 wins. They just haven't put enough around Justin Fields to make them successful yet. But, you know, we'll see, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's why we're on here. This is the home of the bad takes. I'm sure that most of these things will be bad takes. Like, one of my takes is that the Minnesota Vikings will lose all 6 games in the division this year. And I could be wrong on that. And I will be the first person on here when they win that first division game to come on here and tell you that I was wrong. I just don't see it. Sebastian says that he is an idiot for trading Hawkinson to us. So Brad Holmes is an idiot for trading TJ Hawkins. Do you want to take that first?
I think I just did a few minutes ago. we're not. I'm sorry. It wasn't an idiot move. I guess you could totally give that credence if the Lions had failed down the stretch at the tight end position, but instead they set an NFL record for most touchdowns by a tight end in a 9-game stretch. So,
oh yeah.
How much of it? And all of those tight ends combined don't equal what they're going to have to pay T.J. Hockenson. So I'm not sure where he's getting that idiot comment from, especially when you consider that we got Sam Laporta in the trade to boot.
Right. Well, I mean, that was one of those things where it wasn't direct. It wasn't a direct in the trade because we didn't use that pick. We used the pick for Sam Laporta was the trade down pick. The 34 that we got from Arizona is where we got Laporta. I think the second round pick would have been the Green Bay pick that they traded to us. That was 48. It's like there's a weird little Doctor Strange thing going on here. Okay. Sebastian, thank you for the comment in there. And if you feel that way, I mean, if Hockenson turns into a top 5 tight end, I wouldn't even call us an idiot for that because you gave us a second and a third round pick and we haven't even got to use the second part of the capital yet. So, I think that we got fair compensation. This may be one of those things that could just work out for both teams.
Is that right? The Lions still have a third rounder coming next year for that trade?
They're coming next year. Now, let's not overblow this. This wasn't just like a straight up second and third rounder. This was like trading down to the 4th and in the 5th round. So we had to send back, a 4 and a 5.
Right.
Depending on stuff that happens like during the contract. But you're entitled to that. I mean, if you think he's an idiot, we'll have to see on that. So Jeremy Ballrick says, so let's talk about the Hall of Fame game. Neither massage parlor frequenter or Karen Rogers is playing. Thank you. I'll give you a 2-banger on that one.
You like that?
Yeah, you had two rips in there. Jeremy Ballrick biting kneecaps. South Florida Tribune. Go read his stuff. Adrian West says one can say the Steelers may have won that trade. This has got to be a Bear fan because he's going to try to.
No, that's A-Dub.
Oh. One can say that the Steelers may have won the trade. He needs to say it's A-Dub because it messes me up. I look and I'm like, it's Adarian. That's such a cool name too. But anyway, So one can say that the Steelers have won the trade with the Bears, given what they get out of Joey Porter Jr. as a second-round pick. Yes, I can say they smoked them in the trade because so far Claypool's been nothing but a problem. And I mean, I guess you're waiting. Bear Down Mike said, go ahead.
I think Joe, and we said this on draft day, I think Joey Porter Jr. is going to be a steal of the draft. And the fact that the Bears traded it away so the Steelers could get him, that's going to live in Pittsburgh lore forever.
Yeah. And it was so crazy. Like, didn't it seem like everybody on planet Earth knew? It was almost like maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers made like a deal in a back room and said, look, we want this guy. Like, what do we got to do? And they made like, how does that even happen? I mean,
everyone knew on draft day as that pick was approaching, the Steelers were going to land Joey Porter Jr.
And like, because it's a competitive league, why wouldn't you just take him? Be like, screw you. You're playing for us. Why? I mean, why there? And why did they get that? That'll always be a mystery. I don't think there's an answer to that question. The football gods have shineth upon the Pittsburgh Steelers if he's good. So I love that.
Sense of that. Oh, when I was looking that up while you were talking, Russ, that to know, that was the pick. That's who Pittsburgh got, was Joey Porter. And I really wanted to slam Ryan Poles and point out all these great defensive tackles that he let go for that trade. But they're actually, in his defense, the list was pretty thin.
Yeah.
I mean, you had guys like Isaiah Foskey and things like that they could have drafted. But I'm not so sure that those guys are better than Gervon Dexter, who they took after that trade. So I think Ryan Poles, I gotta ease up and kind of walk back my comments back there a little bit for those Bear fans, because maybe that wasn't such a bad trade after all. I was really expecting to get some defensive line help and some pass rush help.
Well,
but I got to jump off.
Go ahead and plug the show if you would. Yes, please.
I will. It's NFC North Open Mic Night every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We talk to all 4 fan bases. We do some football analysis, and we do a little trash talk. So leave your thin skin at the door. Also, don't forget, it's the return of the Main Event podcast, Detroit Lions podcast, every Thursday at 7:30, 8 o'clock, somewhere in there, p.m. Eastern Time. We will be broadcasting live with Detroit Lions content exclusively. It's the Main Event 365 podcast, coming August 17th to Facebook Live. God bless you all.
And thank you, Mike, for joining us again. It's always nice to have Mike on the show. Like, Mike is the king of Sting, and this is the way that we work it now. Mike, you don't get a shot at the title. Mike is he is an interesting character. I've loved working with Mike over the last couple of years, but every Monday you can come and get your chance to speak with the king of Sting. If you want to get your feelings hurt by Mike, every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's a lot of fun. And thank you everybody on the comments right here. This is the time right here where I like to open it up to everybody else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the link in. I'm going to throw the link into the comments right here. And if you want to hop on the show with me and talk some football, that would be a cool thing. So I'm trying to find these comments back in. Wow, got lots of good comments in here. Not the biggest fan of Claypool, Bear Down Mike says. It's a contract year. He needs a big season. And that's where I think it is a bust pick. I mean, you need him to have a good year, or at least show something last year, but now he's in a contract year. So even if he is good, I mean, part of the intrigue of having him was knowing that you had him cheap and that you could keep him cheap for this year, last year and this year. And now, I mean, if he's good, then you got to pay him. You got to pay him now. So it's hard for you to win that trade at this point, but it's okay. Not everybody hits on every damn pick. I mean, just because Bowles made a bad decision, it doesn't mean that he's a bad GM. Welcome to the program, Woody.
Morning, sir. Wow, it's a rip on Bears Day already, huh?
I'm following these comments. We've been trying to defend a lot of this stuff, but it doesn't seem like the rest of the fan base is buying it. I don't like that. I didn't like the Claypool trade for you guys.
I didn't either. I think we were using them wrong, first of all, and we got him halfway during the season last year. So we'll see this year. They use him as a big receiver, maybe.
Yeah, but he would have to ball the F out in order to justify that second round draft pick, because this draft was loaded with second round talent. Like high end talent, maybe it was a little bit not there.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what Brad Holmes says. He said that they had identified only 14 players that they gave first round grades to, and they got 3 of them. And by their estimations, but everybody values different players, differently. Like the player that works for you may not work for us, and Claypool doesn't seem like a thing for you guys.
Yeah, I wanted to explain the that Mitch Trubinsky comment.
All right, then.
I didn't want him at all. I actually got thrown out of the bar because I threw my beer across the bar when they drafted him, because I thought we were going to get Watson before Watson's shit went on. So, yeah, I wanted Watson bad, because I thought that's why we traded up with the Niners to get him, and we picked Mitch Trubinsky. So, but now, do I regret my decision because all the shit that's going on with Deshaun Watson? Yeah. So.
Yeah, but think about if you would have had. I mean, because I was thinking about it right after where I was like, oh yeah, would you really want it? Well, yeah. You would have loved as a Bear fan to have the production that he had when he was there with, Hopkins with that great defense. It may have been the thing that would have pushed you over the edge, and then it would be a completely different scenario, Doctor Strange style, if you guys had Deshaun Watson, because then you guys would have had the massage parlor tables and everything, but there might have been some success that went along with that, because Deshaun Watson has definitely had a better career than Mr. Trubisky. Oh, we got Jeremy Baldrick in the back here too.
Hello, guys.
Welcome to the program.
Well, Mr. Jeremy, Mr. Kneecaps.
And Mr. Kneecaps. The South Florida Tribune. Go check out those articles. Let's see.
Well, how's it going, everybody?
Good, sir. How are you?
Any day I wake up is good.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the starters that are going to be in the Hall of Fame game tonight, since you brought it up. Chris Streveler is starting for the Jets, and Dorian Thompson-Robertson, DTR, is the starter for the Browns. Neither the misogynist or Karen Rodgers is starting.
Wow.
This is going to be a snooze fest of a game.
All right. Well, is there anybody out there that, let's see what we got in here. I'm not. Sarah says, no, I am not watching the MILF Chaser.
No, Zach Wilson isn't scheduled to start.
That was awesome.
He might be the third or fourth string quarterback behind Mike White.
Oh my gosh, that is great. That is fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. That was good. Rashnish says that Mitch should have never been drafted in Chicago.
Thank you.
I feel that too. You go up and then you take the least sexy guy that is.
See, my rule is that don't draft your number one round pick for a quarterback at a basketball school. That's just
yeah.
He started
when Deshaun Watson was there and he had just won the national championship,
right?
It's like
and Mitch Trubisky, we traded up with the Niners. He only started 12 games in his college career. I mean, what the hell were you thinking? No idea.
Right on. Let's see. Krish. Yeah, that's what he'd said. All right, I got to get past his. He came on and said what he said in the comments. All right, let's see. Eric Thomas says that, I didn't know about that. I think Laporta is going to end up being better. Just saying. Okay, so he's saying Laporta will be better than Hawkinson. I mean, the funny thing is, it's the same school, and a lot of the same things that were said about Hawkinson, they said about Laporta. So they're very similar in skill set. I think that Hawkinson was touted as a better blocker than Laporta, but Laporta is definitely better at breaking tackles. He runs more like George Kittle runs than the tight ends that are. I mean, Hawkinson's long. Laporta seems like he's more of a compact tight end. I don't know if that makes sense, but he runs more like a running back, where Hawkinson runs like a tight end that's really fast. I don't know if that makes sense.
Just like Kyle Pitts, he runs like a receiver,
right?
Than a tight end,
right? So Brent says, I don't see the Vikings losing all, Russ, but it is for sure a different year. Yeah, you know what? I'm a smack talker. Maybe there's a part of me that doesn't actually believe that myself, but I'm going to stand on it, because I think you lost too much. I think that the Vikings just lost too much on a bad defense. You're expecting too many of these young kids to just come in and compete at this highest level. Like all these unknown things you guys are expecting just to be known.
I do think they're going to split with us. I don't think we're going to sweep them.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the somebody being able to beat somebody, yeah, they still have a good offensive line, and you guys don't have a good defensive line. So it's like teams are going to be able to run against you, and when you can run against teams, I mean, you have a possibility to lose to any team that's going to be able to run on you. You're going to make average run teams look good if you don't have a good defensive line.
Right.
Sebastian says, when the Lions are irrelevant, I guess you'll see. The Lions won't be irrelevant. The Lions won't be irrelevant. And the thing is the only thing that you have to back that up is the past. Like, and it can't be recent past, because the recent past is you got truck sticked in the last time that you played us to a superior offensive and defensive line. So it is what it is until it isn't. You have the proving things to do, because we whooped your ass the last time that we played you, not the other way around. But you did go to the playoffs. Sebastian, I like this, a little trash talk. Me and Sebastian kind of been having this little thing. He did not like that Hockenson trade for us. He thinks that we got fleeced, that Holmes.
How? Wait a minute. TJ Hockenson had so many concentration drops during the first half of the season. He missed blocking assignments in the run game, which forced the run game to look more lethargic than it was. We had a 2,000-yard rushing season, and over 1,300 of it was without Hockenson.
So, but to his point, who gives a shit what happened in Detroit? He went to the Vikings and played well. So that's what they believe, that they got the guy. Sebastian loves his guy, TJ Hockenson, as a top 10 tight end. And I believe it. He's a top 10 tight end. He's 10. Yo, Dom. Dom, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah.
Let's see. Going through here. Bear Down Mike.
News in the chat.
Bear Down Mike says, I get polls. I get why polls traded it. It was because the Packers and the Bears, no big name wide receivers were going to be available. Okay. I mean, so you traded for a receiver that's not big and used a second round pick on him. So you got a bad guy. I guess that's why you did. You take a chance. That's what you do. But when you take chances on somebody that you don't know the commodity, you spend a 5 or 6, or you give them draft capital that reflects that you're taking a chance on them, not a second round pick. You pay a second round pick for somebody that's going to get 1,000 yards for you. So, all right. Calvin Harrington says, what do you think about how Detroit will fare its few games this season? I got them at 12 wins. I don't see. I actually think I'm underselling it. I think I'm tapering back my homerism, because my homerism wanted me to say 13, but I'm not going to allow it to go there. What do you think, Jeremy?
I've said 10 to 11 wins the entire time.
10 to 11 wins from Jeremy Ballrick. What do you consider a successful trade for Claypool? 500 to 600 yards, 4 TDs, or 700 plus 4 TDs? Go ahead. You want to field that one?
Well, if Claypool can get back to where for him to have a successful season to where you'd want to bring him back, number one, he has to win 65% of his contested catches. Number two, he has to actually put up closer to 800 yards, but 4+ touchdowns. I think that's the right range, because he's never been a true red zone threat the entire time at Pittsburgh.
Let's get a Bear fan perspective. What do you think? What are you going to consider fair? Like, it became a fair trade. What does Claypool have to do
this year?
Well, yeah, because he has done nothing.
For a full year, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think at least 4 to 6 touchdowns, yeah. And like Jeremy said about, he's not a big red zone threat, because that's why I think the tight ends have to be this year. But for him to get back on track, to have this trade at least work a little bit in our favor, I think he has at least to get 700 yards. But with DJ Moore there and Mooney, I mean, I don't think Claypool is going to get even near that. But the touchdowns, I think, have to be like 4 to 6 to help us out. But with our weapons that we have with Moore and Mooney, And
Pettis.
you know, who knows who's coming back? You know, Pettis is on the pup list and stuff like that. But for him to succeed a little bit with Chicago, he should at least have 4 to 6 touchdowns. And I think he's going to have like 400 to 500 yards. That's what I'm thinking.
Right on. I would have to say, like, I'm sticking. I mean, if you're paying a second round pick, and this is kind of reflect this comment right here from Rajneesh. If you pay a second round pick for receiver, like, you need 1,000 yards. He needs to be your bona fide number 2 or number 1 receiver. That's the only reason why you're going to pay capital that high. If he doesn't become that, then you have not obtained the value of that pick. So Claypool will be fine. Stop overlooking everything and looking for instant gratification. All he has to do is play football. Okay, that doesn't make sense to me though, Rajneesh. I have to look at this objectively. I can't look at it like a Chicago Bear homer. I have to look at this from what has he done? You paid a second round draft pick for him. What is the expectation? So I would like you to answer that question. Like, no homer. Nothing aside. What does Claypool have to do this year for you, Rajneesh, to justify a second round draft pick? I think 1,000 yards and 4 to 6 touchdowns is what he would need to justify that.
Well, here's the thing. If another thing is that if the Bears knew that they're going to get DJ Moore in this trade, I don't think they would have traded for Claypool. That's just my honest opinion.
Well, for sure. I think that the DJ Moore trade was the sign of the Claypool trade is a fail, but we're going to take what we can get out of him, you know, because really if Claypool ends up being a solid, 2 or 3 receiver, you guys could probably live with that, but you're not going to give him like a max contract as a wide receiver next year.
Nope.
But if Mooney can be a 2 or 3, I mean, you got 2 guys that kind of are number 2 wide receivers. So you could have DJ Moore. All 3 of those together could be a force. Go ahead, Jeremy.
In Green Bay news, the tight end they cut was their UDFA they signed this year. It's a depth cut. It's because he's not doing anything in practice. It was Cameron McDonald. It wasn't Tyler Kraft. It wasn't Luke Musgrave. So we can put those hopes to rest already.
Well, I'm not going to hope anybody's going to get injured, but yeah.
No, not injured. It was just a cut.
Okay, cut. Okay, yeah. Non-news. Like I don't know. I don't know if I want to talk about those types of things, but I do have a Green Bay topic that we haven't gotten to yet, and it's I wrote down, can Jordan Love be better than Aaron Rodgers? And that's not the real question. The real question is, can the 2023 version of Jordan Love be better than the half-ass Aaron Rodgers that played in 2022? That's the real question that pertains to real football.
I think any one of the 3 of us could have played better than Aaron Rodgers last year. He was missing targets close and far. It was bad. He was throwing footballs at the feet of players. He didn't have his timing right. When he was hitting his star receiver they drafted, Christian Watson, he was throwing it so hard that Christian Watson was dropping the ball. It was a lot on Aaron Rodgers as much as it was on Christian Watson, because one of the things that I said was his knock is that Christian Watson struggles with hard-thrown footballs. That's why he had a 20% drop rate with Trey Lance, and when the other guy came in who had nowhere near the arm strength, it dropped to 5% his last year in college.
All right. How about you, Woody? How are you feeling on this? Was that a good frame of a question right there?
Oh my goodness! I'm glad that Aaron Rodgers is out of our division because he was our daddy. Like everybody knows that. Listen, I can give my opinion about this. I don't know how Jordan Love is going to be. I think Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. I just don't care what people say. I mean, he was awesome. You know, he only won one Super Bowl, but he killed us. He killed us, and I watched every single game of it. So you said, would I take 2023 Jordan Love over a half-ass Aaron Rodgers? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the question.
I'd still take Aaron Rodgers. That's just I haven't seen Jordan Love play enough yet. So even Aaron Rodgers being half-ass, I think he'll. That's my opinion. He'll be better than Jordan Love. That's just how I say it.
Okay, so there's Woody going on that I'm not going to go with the Jordan Love. I would go with Jordan Love because, and actually I would have went with Jordan Love last year when I could have traded Aaron Rodgers for 3 first-round picks when they were willing to overpay for it. Gutekunst messed up, in my opinion, when he didn't pull that trigger and he let Aaron Rodgers control his organization and become the GM of the Green Bay Packers. So would I go with Jordan Love this year? Yes. You got to figure out what you got. You have to. You got to throw it out there. You got to trot it out there and figure it out so people can stop saying, I got to see it first. But now you've wasted.
That's what I say. I'm just sorry. I'm a shown, proven guy. You know what I mean? Come ask me that question after week 6.
Right. So to my point is that should have been done last year. You should already know what you have in Jordan Love. So that way you're sitting on here and you're not sitting on that. But at least you rip the Band-Aid off and you got the $40 million worth of cap. It's all coming out. You are behind the 8 ball. Actually, Green Bay is one of the scariest teams if they're good this year. If Green Bay is good this year, it's going to be a very tough division to take back because they're 40 million behind the cap with what they have this year. So next year they're getting all that back. So if they're good this year and they get to stack, oh my gosh, we got to go through another decade of Green Bay.
It's all right. It's all right, Russell. You guys are going to win the division this year.
Yes.
No worries.
And the thing is that the toilet, like Rajneesh says, the toilet has a lot to prove. We do. Like, they have to take the division. The division has never been teed up on a tee for us to just whack right there. If we don't win the division this year, I don't know if it's going to happen. Like, the Detroit Lions should win this division by 3-4 games with all of the questions everybody else has, with all of the turnover. The Lions got to bring their whole damn team back minus a secondary. And that's not hurting anybody's feelings in Detroit that they're not bringing back any of that secondary, the 32nd ranked secondary. So the only thing that got retooled was our secondary. We better win the damn division.
We like that.
Stop playing with us.
There we go. All right. The Packers cut 2 names, a tight end and a guard. Yeah, we're 90-man rosters right
3
now.
no names. The other one was Ladarius Thompson, a linebacker, and they picked up the linebacker Mosley off of waivers. Aaron Mosley, I think his name is.
Do you have anything?
Then they cut Chuck Villani. Who the hell's that? Some no-name guard that was on their roster.
So the Packers cut a couple guys that nobody knows about. That were there any other cuts on any other teams that nobody knows about?
I'm checking on now.
I could look. Yeah. I could look at it right now. I mean, I got the NFL app. All I do is go to transactions, and it shows everybody.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about a subject that I brought up on my NFL show last night. Everybody's bagging about the injuries that are happening in the NFL. And the most injured teams right now are the Packers, the Jets, the Ravens. The least injured teams for the top 3, it's Chicago, Detroit, and Kansas City.
Oh gosh, I'm not giving you a hard time, man. I'm just when I look at this thing, it says give us a break, Russ. We're just reporting what we heard. I do want to report what is heard out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking at it vicariously through the other 3 fan bases. Like when I talk about the Packers practice squad guys that they cut, I'm thinking of Bear fan, Viking fan, and and Packer fan going, I don't know, or Lion fans just not caring. But it's all good. We should report the news. And I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you guys too. And I love that everybody comes out here on August 3rd, and we actually have live football tonight, even if it is with Joe Blow, the popcorn guy, is going to be throwing some passes to the cab drivers and the drywallers that are in Cleveland and New York.
At the O-line.
And, they got to figure out what they got. People are getting smarter during these times of the season. You don't want to see any of your key pieces getting injured. I think that's why they do it, So
I have a caveat to that, because this game is called the Hall of Fame game. Yet there's a Hall of Fame quarterback that's not even going to play in it. It's a disgrace to the name of the game.
Oh, well, there we go. That is a harsh take by Jeremy B. I got to give you like that. I got to give you a double for that, just for putting it out there like that. That's pretty ballsy out there. What do you think about that? Is this a disgrace, Woody?
Yeah, I mean, is he going to be in the Hall of Fame? Let me know. No. They're like I said, they don't want him injured. That's their main key. He brought all these players in, Randall Cobb, Lazard, and stuff like that. They're not going to put him out there just to take a chance. Maybe a series. I would put him out there just for a series to make a be seen out there. Just one series, and that's it. If I was coach.
All right. Roy Jackson says that the Packers should have traded Rodgers after the NFC Championship versus San Francisco. Talk about a lackluster. That's a great call. That's a great call right there. I love that.
And they should have. Like that. Think about it. If they'd have traded him that season, they would have got all those picks and all those players from Denver, because that basically was the trade.
Right. I think they would have gotten more. I think they could have gotten more, because he had just won the MVP. I mean, you weren't going to get any higher value out of an aging quarterback, and you could have found out what you had in Jordan Love last year. But no, you let Aaron Rodgers be your general manager, and then all the way out the door up until Gutekunst did make a savvy move at the end to try to play them against the 49ers and the Titans to make them make that trade before June 1st. I thought that was pretty savvy, but
the Packers knew he wasn't happy either. So I've been thinking in the back of my head,
been happy for 3 years.
Yeah, if you're not happy somewhere, what are you going to do? Or can you see Aaron Rodgers coming out and saying, "I request a trade," like all these players are?
Right.
I can't see it. But if I'm a GM or a coach and I know my main guy isn't happy, either A, I'm going to sit down and talk to him, or B, put his name out there for a trade. I would have did it last year as well.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a thing. It's like not every single GM is going to be perfect. He's not going to. I mean, this is like, think about like baseball. I mean, if you're batting 500, you're badass. So it's like he made a mistake. He made a mistake. He should have did that last year, but he ripped the Band-Aid off, and they made the most out of it. Knowing, I mean, you just had an MVP quarterback. Why wouldn't you think that you might be able to run it back? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to crucify him for that. Maniac Sports says, "What's up? What's up, Maniac Sports?" I don't know if
Maniac Tim Becker, one of the originators of Detroit Lions on the Prowl, that has his own show called Maniac Sports.
Maniac Sports, you should jump in, man. I don't know if you're able to do that and you want to hop in. I'm going to throw the link back in there. I got another 15, 20 minutes. I'm
going to say something about when I was listening to you and Main Event Mike about Bryce Young. Listen, would I be pissed if he turns out to be great this year and shit like that? A little bit. But listen, all this hype with all these people coming out and players. Look at Jamarcus Russell. How many people were hyped up on him? Bust. Ryan Leaf. Bust.
It's funny because you brought that name up. Somebody called me out and saying Jamarcus Russell never won a national championship. He actually was the quarterback that came in the second half 2 years before he was drafted and did win the national championship for LSU. So that guy is a total idiot and doesn't know sports, evidently.
So if Bryce Young does real shitty this year, I can throw down. I was a quarterback for my Lehigh Valley for 13 years for GFFL. I had throws. I won four titles, missed throws, and all that shit. But if Bryce Young comes in and he does shitty, am I going to be happy that, oh my God, I'm glad Bears didn't pick him at number 1? No, we just don't know how these players are gonna play. We don't know. They could be bust, they could be not, but we'll see. But was I happy? Yeah, this is Justin Fields' make it or break it year.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you be salty? Like, here, let's just be honest, guys. If you're a Bear fan, you wouldn't be salty that Bryce Young was awesome while you don't know what you have in your guard. You would you don't have to lie. You don't have to lie to make friends. We can be honest and transparent on this show. It would get to you a little bit. But here's
the Mahomes.
It was the right move. It was
the
Mahomes.
Right move. Yeah, the Mahomes, I was upset. As you know, I didn't like the Mitch draft. No,
yeah, that poor glass.
I'm still pissed off about that. But I'm just a lot of hope for a mobile quarterback that could extend plays, stuff like that. I'd be a little bit pissed off about if Bryce Young is good.
Yep, and Brent says, Karen was crying for 3 years. I would have gotten rid of him too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What I said.
The biggest thing is that you want to be able to get value for the guy, and make sure. And I loved the trade. Honestly, I will stand on that. Like, as Ryan Poles going and getting 2 first-round picks, it is a fan base. Oh my gosh, it is so fun to have 2 first-round picks when it comes to the hype of the draft and the pre-draft process, thinking of all these guys that could actually be on your team, at 6 and 18. How fun was that this year, Jeremy?
Well, just like what Brent said about, I would have got rid of him. Just like you said, Russell, Hunter is the GM of the Vikings.
Right. And Bear Down Mike brings up a point that I even asked the other day. Mahomes would have never had his career he's having in Chicago because the team was nowhere near as good. That O-line was a top 5 O-line that he went into there at Kansas City. They had a great running game already. They just keep retooling it, and it's a running back by committee ever since Kareem Hunt left.
Yeah, because Aaron Rodgers, he was the GM of the Packers. Let's face it. he ruled just like Tom Brady in New England. Come on. But if, like Brent said, if he wasn't happy and I was a GM and he wasn't happy, I either try to, sit down and talk to him, see if something can get resolved, or request a trade. Plain and simple.
Don't you know they just gave him a whole crap load of money?
Oh yeah, I know.
your son is in the comments.
It ain't my son.
Is that your son or is that your Padawan?
That's not even my Padawan. That's some burner account.
Oh. Oh my God! I got it in the phone, but I don't even know what to say. I have nothing. I have to recover from that. Bear down.
See, I understand. I understand. Mahomes wouldn't have. I just see. You never know, though. This is what I'm thinking. You never know until it happens. All we give is opinions. We do not know until it happens.
So for the listeners that are out there, the comment says Mahomes would have never had the career that he is having in Chicago. I mean, but coming after that year that you guys had where Mitch Trubisky actually had a decent year, going from Mitch Trubisky, if you had Mahomes on that team with that defense, you don't think that Mahomes would have been better in that situation? I mean, come on, man. I mean, Mahomes is a unicorn. They struck gold in Kansas City when he came there. And it wasn't just because the team was better around him. They took his team away from him, and he won the Super Bowl last year without Tyreek Hill.
Do you know what scared people of Pat Mahomes? He came out of Texas Tech, a system
right
that had Johnny Manziel as the most highly touted quarterback that year come out and be garbage. And everybody was afraid Pat Mahomes was the same guy. A mildly athletic quarterback with a big arm and going to come in with a diva attitude. That's why he fell in the draft as far as he did. It had nothing to do with his playing ability or how he performed at Pro Day and Combine, because everybody raved about it.
It's crazy because didn't he run like a 4.8 40? Like, it was like, how you would have never been able to tell that he was a mobile quarterback by looking at his numbers. Like, he was one of those guys like Jerry Rice, where it's like, hey, how do you run a 4.7 40 and then become the greatest wide receiver of all time? Like,
I think it was Mahomes' brother that got him drafted high. His dancing. Oh man, I'm glad I can't have to see that anymore.
Oh, you think that? Maniac Sports having trouble getting his internet, or else he'd jump on. Yeah, I'd love to have you on here, man. We talk good football every day, and we talk awful football every day too. So we don't discriminate. John Dorn, always love having you on here. Fields is just a bridge quarterback until next year's draft. This is it, the make or break year. This is Justin Fields. You got, put up or shut up. They got you the line. They got you some playmakers.
Unbelievable.
Well, actually, his rookie year, Mahomes never played until they were in garbage time. Wasn't that what they did? They brought him in, and he'd play a couple of downs every game when they were in garbage time, because Alex Smith had him up so much with Kareem Hunt running the ball and everything else. And he would come in when they were up by 20 points and close out a game. 9 times out of 10, he took 3 knees.
Alex Smith was Alex Smith before Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins were. So you just remember that.
That's right.
Alex Smith is, to me, one of the most underappreciated, hardworking quarterbacks ever. That has just been shit on by every organization that he's ever been to. Not shit on, but like, he's always got somebody right behind him that's going to be the next big thing. And
in San Francisco, it was Colin Kaepernick. In Kansas City, it was Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
And then he went to Washington.
And it's Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's...
I thought he was in Washington right after Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins was already in Minnesota. Yeah,
you could be right on that. Don't quote me on that. I'm talking out my ass. So that could have been a timeline.
Yeah, because Kirk Cousins was drafted in the same year they drafted RG Nee.
Yeah. You like that? You got it. You get a 5 banger on that one. That was great. That's great. Jeremy Ballrick Jr. Mike Tomlin told Chase Young his draft year that you're an excellent player, but we will be bad enough.
Chase Young, you mean Chase Claypool?
We'll never be bad enough to get you.
No, he was talking about Chase Young. The problem is Chase Young has proven he's not a very stable, healthy commodity to be picked second overall. You talk about he's missed as many games as Okudah has in his career. So if you think about that, there was all these fans that wanted the Lions to trade up for Chase Young because he was a generational talent. Me
and Russ think differently about that subject. I don't want to trade Chase Young because we have to trade him. Not just, he's not a free agent. We have to trade for him.
Yeah.
Do the Bears trade for him because we need a defensive edge rusher? I say no, because anybody can get injured. We don't know, but his past, I just don't trust it. I don't.
Yeah, he doesn't like good play. I brought his stats up, and the outside of him being injured, there's nothing to complain about. He had 12 sacks in his rookie year, and he's never dropped below a 70 in total PFF. Was it 10.5?
It was 7.5.
That's
the year he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. It was 7.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles.
Chase Young. Well, I looked at his. I may have looked at something different. Chase Young
is 12.5 sacks because he's missed so much time.
Yeah, let me you go ahead. Let me put Chase Young up here.
Just like Saquon Barkley. I wouldn't want him. Look how his injuries. and he won $16 million a year. Giants said no, and I'm glad because he doesn't deserve that. $16 million. Nobody deserves running back. If any running back deserves anywhere near that money, it would be Nick Chubb.
He doesn't even have 12 and a half sacks in his career. He has 9 sacks total in his career. In Aiden Hutchinson's rookie year, Hutchinson's rookie year, he has 9.5 sacks. He's already surpassed Chase Young in 1 year.
See?
All right, so I'm going to bring up his PFF right here, and you're right. I misspoke on the 12 sacks, but this is his PFF grade 87.2. That's elite in 2020.
It may be elite.
Let me finish because I let you finish. 2021, he was a 84.5 run defender where he got injured. And then in 2022, I mean, he has never been anything other than awesome according to PFF. So if you wanted to view PFF, that's fine. I did misspeak on the number of sacks that he got, but this dude has been a stud in every moment that he's played. And if you can get,
absolutely.
I mean, is he better than Gibson?
Do you know what he is? He's Ziggy Ansah. Great when he's on the field, but misses way too much time.
That is a good one. I like that. I like that one right there because you got to be available. But when you're the Chicago Bears, what I was saying is that you guys should, if this is actually a thing, I don't think it's a thing because everybody loves to put up clickbait about Chase Young. I think every single team has said, oh, where did you get the trade for Chase Young? But if Chicago, if this was a real thing and you guys had a chance to get Chase Young, I would jump all over, especially with those extra draft picks. Why not take a chance? You know, if he's bad, he's bad. If he's good, then gosh, you could probably get him for, you know, a second, third round pick right now.
I'll take JT from Ohio State next year, #1 pick, our first round pick, because I heard he's a hell of a edge rusher, and I'm gonna watch him all year.
So let's see. Let's go over it. When they're on the field, they're great. Nick Bosa, his brother Joey Bosa, Chase Young, and now we got the next big thing in JT, right?
Right.
What if it's the same thing? Think about this. Generational talent, but can't stay on the field. That's the only thing I see coming out of there because Joey Bosa's missed a good amount of time here and there. Nick Bosa's missed a good amount of time here or there. Last year, I think, was his first fully healthy season.
TJ Watt, too. Same thing.
TJ Watt, same thing. When they're on the field, they're amazing. But when they're off the field, they're not helping the team. And
I take TJ Watt in a second.
Oh, yeah, but you got to also look at when they're off the field, the record drops because the defense is not as good.
Mm-mm.
Sebastian Cole says, wild to say that Hunter is the GM of the Vikings for getting the contract that he deserves.
Wait, he was under contract already. The GM could have said, no, play out your year. If you have a great year, we'll re-sign you when we got more money.
Hey, Hunter, go snort dirt. You got paid. You're under contract. Honor your contract. He could have.
Ryan Poles is the one that did. I mean, not Ryan. What's his name? Quezzy is the one that did the deal now just to make him happy. He dictated that.
And that's what I'm saying in that. You have not provided me anything to think otherwise. It's wild to say he's the GM. He's the GM because who's in control? Is Hunter making the decisions? He gets to just bow out of his training camp and force the GM to sign him before he's ready. That means that Hunter is in control and not Quessy. It is what it is, man. I mean, I'm not trying to be a butt to you. It is what it is, right? I mean, can you say that he's in control? Aaron Rodgers was the GM for the Green Bay Packers all the way up until they traded him.
Anytime a player can dictate his last year to get a contract and not have it go further than his last year, he owned that GM.
Like, they didn't fix anything long term. If he was a smart GM, he would have signed him for a 3-year deal to cover the 2 years that he has to cover dead cap in.
And backloaded it so that year when the cap frees up, that's when it was a big cap hit. Could have gave him more money now,
right?
But still had him get more money later and make most of it guaranteed with a backloaded contract. That
Correct.
way, when your cap room frees up, it's not that big of a cap hit.
So, besides he's the team leader who is well respected, Rick made the contract, and you are correct. And Rick made the right contract at that point because he backloaded the contract and got Hunter playing for you for cheap at the beginning of the contract. You got to pay the piper. This isn't like, I hate the Vikings and I'm just talking crap about the Vikings. It's the business of the game. That's what happens when you front or you backload those contracts. And he did that. Rick Spielman did that. I don't even think that was a mistake at that point.
Sarah, there was a report 3 months ago prior to the draft that Hunter asked for a trade. So Hunter asked for the trade. They were finally going to allow it, and he finally agreed because they made the 1-year deal good enough for him to stay. That's what it was.
They offered him a 1-year deal and he rejected it. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. And the fact that we're sitting here talking about this has been like a 3-day conversation on Danielle Hunter ever since he's been traded. Like, I love that you guys still defend your team. I love that you still defend your team. I love that Sebastian's on here defending the team. If you like what Quessie's doing, more power to you. I'm just saying, vicariously, looking at it from the outside, if this was my team, I've already seen this type of stuff happen. Trey Flowers, then Shelton, Jamie Collins. I've seen these type of bad contracts happen before, and this is what it is. Like, it's not a good contract, even for a good player.
Does anybody remember that back just before the draft when it was the report that Danielle Hunter wanted to get out of Minnesota? I remember it. It was all across the internet, reported by Schefter, Rappaport. I didn't believe it when it comes from Schefter because Schefter tends to be a little wishy-washy and getting bad sources. But when it came out from Rappaport and Jeremy Flores, is it, of ESPN, once they all said that, then I believed it.
Well, what did Mel Kiper say?
Sarah says 100 didn't ask for a trade. I don't know. I don't know about that. I can't speak on that because I don't know if Hunter. I do know this one right here. That Sebastian said that Hunter wanted a long-term deal and the Vikings didn't. I think the Vikings were in control the whole time. They did get the 1-year deal done here, but here's the thing is, to the defense, because I went at you guys pretty hard yesterday on that because I thought that Quessie was responsible for the dead cap, and it was Rick Spielman who originally made that contract. So in the defense of Quessie in this particular situation, he had to kind of deal the hand that was dealt to him. He had to play that hand, and that wasn't a good hand at the end. But that's not Rick Spielman's fault. Because at the time, if you remember, that's when they were re-signing Adrian Peterson or they were re-signing not Adrian Peterson, but Dalvin Cook to the long-term deal. They had to fit all of these guys into the box so you guys could compete for the titles that you've competed for the last 4 years that Kirk Cousins has been here. So that's what you thought anyway when you went into the season. That's why you make moves like that. So.
Right. Well, guys, I do have to head to work, so I'm going to head out. And Don Burr, I agree with Chad Datima. Green Bay's not rebuilding. They're retooling. They're seeing what they got in their first-round talent. And the fact that they don't have faith in them is why they didn't pick up the 5th-year option and sign them for less.
That's awesome.
This is a prove-it year. This is a prove-it year for him because next year he has almost no dead cap in that contract. And if they want to move on, they can trade him.
Well, there you go. But before you take off, you want to go ahead and plug your YouTube or whatever you want to plug right there?
Check out my writings on the South Florida Tribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading. You can also find me at Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions. You can also find me on here whenever I get the chance to talk with Russell. And you can also find me on Let's Talk Sports and South Florida Tribune YouTube channel.
Very good.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I see you.
Well,
got a face for radio, but it's all over YouTube.
right on, Jeremy B. That's smoking Jeremy B right there. Thank you very much for popping on the show. And I always like to get some insight. What's work? I'm a bum. Don't say that, Sarah. I love the fact that you are on here defending your team right here. Chad says that, come on, Don Byrne, the Packers aren't rebuilding. They're looking at a little retooling. I wanted to hit that comment right there. And they aren't. I believe that I think that people undersell where the Green Bay Packers are because of the loss of Aaron Rodgers. They did lose Aaron Rodgers, but not much else. They got better. They brought in 2 high-end tight ends in the draft. They brought in a wide receiver that's really, really fast to go with young wide receivers of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. So, I mean, all of the questions about Green Bay all hinges around Jordan Love. It's still the same defense. They drafted a defensive end in the first round. So they're going to be getting after the quarterback. So make no mistake about it. This Green Bay defense is still the Green Bay defense. And smart money would think that the end of the season defense is more of what you're looking at. So if you want to rest on that 21st ranked PFF, that's counting the whole entire year, where they obviously got better in the middle of the season as some of their rookies and their younger players started having the game slow down a little bit for them. Don Burr says is not what Aaron Jones and company thinks. I think that we have a little argument going on there. I'll bet you a steak dinner that the Packers take second or first in the North and they'll win 10 games. All right. Ooh. You want to get on that bet? You want to get on that bet with him?
No, not me.
Because that has nothing to do with the Bears right there. Gosh, I couldn't take that bet because I think they're going to get second if the Bears don't make the jump that they think. Because the thing is you need the jump. You need the jump to happen in order to compete with the Packers.
Yep.
And the Lions got so much better that like I don't think that anybody that is like a fan is really from the outside is ready for what the Lions are about ready to do. Because I'm excited about my training camps too. And I know that John Dorn can go into my training camp and point out the 3 bad things that happened between Jamison Williams and whatever, but the other guys are balling, bro. You know what they said about our 3rd round pick, Broderick Martin from Western Kentucky?
What's up?
They said that Frank Ragnall is having a hard time handling this guy, and that 2 guys are needed at all times to block our new defensive tackle in the front. And this isn't Joe Blow and other guy, you know, on the right guard. This is Jonah Jackson, Pro Bowler, and Frank Ragnall, Pro Bowler, trying to block this guy, and they're having a hard time with him.
Yeah, and I was kind of nervous yesterday that our first team offense had problems with our defense.
Yeah, and
so
what's your thoughts on that? Because I brought it up earlier, and I got lit up by.
I mean, some you know, some teams have bad days, you know. I mean, if it's continuous, then that's an issue. But the defense, we can have a bad day training camp. I mean, I'm really excited to see because another guy turning heads is Tyler Scott, rookie wide receiver.
Yes,
and wow. And then Kyler Gordon was intercepting balls yesterday too at training camp. So everybody is Terrell Smith too. They said he's having, so everybody looks good now. I want this in the regular season, but if training camp, if the first team offense keeps getting beat by the second team defense, that'll be a concern and issue. But we can have a bad day.
Yeah, for sure. And you have to look at it. Is it the chicken or the egg? Because is it because Justin Fields is not getting it, or is it because the defense is a lot better? I mean, you can it swings both way. Earlier in the broadcast today, John Dorn had brought up that Jahmyr Gibbs has fumbled the ball, and they said, "What do I think about that?" I hadn't addressed it, and the thing is, you can look at it two ways. Yeah, he did fumble the ball, but if you look at the play, it was Jack Campbell coming over and punching.
Oh, so he made a good play.
It was the linebacker making a good play more than Jahmyr Gibbs isn't holding on to the ball right.
Right.
I mean, Jack Campbell is going to be special in this league, and we watched him go from the third team to the second team to the first team in like a week. Like he's already our best linebacker and commanding people. He's exactly everything that they thought he was going to be from making a spot on this team. I mean, Alex Anzalone was our starting linebacker last year, and he played well. And Jack Campbell just took his job. Quickly.
I'm just excited about how our defensive backfield is. I know it's training camp responding, and how hard they're working in the training camp. I mean, Brisker is just obviously we've seen him last year. He was our best corner in the defensive backfield. But everybody's having a good training camp in the defensive backfield for us. It's just everybody's kicking in. They want to make this roster, which, I don't blame them.
Man, I love how many Skull fans that we have in here. What up, Sarah? We got DW, D Will. D Will is in the house. And yeah, everybody has a bad day. But let's get into some of this Viking stuff right here. I mean, this is a team let's go optimistic Viking here for a second. And I got to give this take because it is out there. Brian Flores came in to the train wreck type of thing, but they got rid of Kendricks. They got rid of all of these proven commodities, but you're bringing in Brian Flores. So Brian Flores is a good defensive coordinator. So he's going to be able to take a lot of these unknown commodities, like your Lewis Scene, Boot Jr., like these guys that there are young pieces on the defense that aren't known from the outside. And the defense could be better. The defense could arguably be better by addition by subtraction because you were the 32nd ranked defense. I mean, it's very possible that these undrafted rookies could be the 32nd ranked defense or the 31st ranked defense or the 30th ranked defense. And that would be an improvement over being the worst. So if you can argue that the Minnesota Vikings, if they're running the football and they can still play good offense, if the defense is any better, that they could be better, they could compete again. So you can make that argument. I'll allow that argument. I just don't believe in that argument, but that argument's out there. And we have some Viking fans in here that are feeling that way. What if you guys do bring in Ezekiel Elliott, right? What if you guys sign Ezekiel Elliott? Does that make them does that cure the Dalvin Cook ooze? I mean, some people could say that he's on par with Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, talent-wise. You're probably gonna have to pay about the same as you would Dalvin Cook. And Sarah's like, let's see. Oh, she says, don't get it twisted. I am so sorry, Sarah. It is the 31st ranked defense. But what I'm saying is you guys could improve. I am subscribing to part of that addition by subtraction type of deal because you have Brian Flores. And I said, if the offense is good, and I do say that, if the offense is good, I mean, nobody's going to stack the box for Alexander Madison. Is Alexander Madison even going to make it through training camp? I heard that he was already banged up. So, I mean, if you're depending on that, but you got three running backs that are about, they're Jags. They're just a guy. You got three guys that could, but I can subscribe to some of that, but I don't buy it. I think you've lost too much, and the other teams in the division got better. We got a lot better as the Lions. The Bears, obviously, they spent like $80 million and drafted their draft. All right, we got the purple and gold 4 days Minnesota winning podcast. I wanted to put a shout out to you because you corrected me yesterday. I wanted to say that because I didn't know. I thought that Kwesi was responsible for the dead cap in that Hunter contract, and I wanted to put a shout out to you for correcting me because I checked that and you were right. As he says, hey, Sarah, as these Vikings are taking over our broadcast again. Purple Gold 4 days says hell no to Zeke. So we're not buying the Zeke hype here. Doesn't look like it. No thanks to Elliot. What if you bring Elliot? What if they sign Elliot? Don't want Ezek. Don't want Ezekiel.
I don't think Madison's the answer.
And I did say that if the offense is good, it's because of that box, and they are going to be able to defend Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson a lot better. They're going to make us respect the run because they're not going to respect the run right off the bat. You guys are going to have to prove that you can still run the football without Dalvin Cook. And if you bring in Ezekiel Elliott, I definitely think he's an upgrade over Madison, but can he stay healthy has always been the question.
Or go trade for Jonathan Taylor.
Chad says 12 wins for the Lions, 10 for the Packers, 8 for the Bears, and 7 for the Vikings. I could see. I don't think the rest of the division is going to be that good. But
Bears 7 wins.
Bears 7 wins. I mean,
yeah.
Hell no to Zeke. D. Will says you got better, but you're still the Lions. Yeah. I mean, yeah. How long can you use that? I mean, all it takes is another winning season to shut that up.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't come up with a football reason why you're going to beat us. I mean, the only thing that you can do is say SOL. I can accept that. Sebastian Coles, Kendricks put except we're old and slow. Gosh, man. One thing I love about Vikings fans is they're showing up now. One thing I hate about Viking fan is you guys shit on your ex-players like they're not good. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Kendrick was your best defender last year.
But they jock Harrison Smith like he's the best thing in the world. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got the link. The link is open. Gosh, I don't got that much more time, but I'll talk for a few minutes if the Purple Podcast wants to come in. I gotta call out. I'll call out on my show if you have time. Yeah, go ahead and call out your show before I get this Purple People Leader in here.
Come join us at Hallis Hall Report Wednesday and Sundays. Wednesdays at 7:30 Central Standard Time. Sunday mornings or afternoons 11:30 Central Standard Time. But right now we're doing Sundays only, and actually we have a free giveaway this Sunday, 12:30 Central Standard Time. Come join us.
All right. Thank you, Woody, for being part of our program today. And if I don't get one of these Viking fans to come in here and talk to me, I'm not going to be on here for very much longer either. But I do have D. Will in there say, how many Vikings GMs did you guys actually watch? Actually, we've been doing this NFC North thing for a few minutes. So I am getting up to snuff a little bit on the other 3 teams. Obviously, I'm a Lions homer. I got Justin. Me and Justin are about ready to have a conversation.
This is Purple and Go for days. I just didn't bother typing it in.
Okay, right on. So you have your own podcast that covers the Vikings.
Yes, sir. That is correct. I heard about you. Sarah comes into our, we have a circle of about 3 or 4 or 5 different content creators, and Sarah's one of our biggest supporters. And she told us about your show a couple weeks ago, And then she told us about it again, that you got this daily thing and that apparently we're going to be last in the division and all that good fun stuff. But
Hey,
so you know what? I got to have Sarah's back. What's up, Sarah? What's up, D. Will?
I love Sarah. I
no,
love
Sarah's the best. She's called into one of our a show a couple of times, and she's outstanding. But all right, I got to correct you, or I at least have to rebuttal some of the things you said yesterday too. Okay. On one hand, you're talking about, oh, they got rid of Eric Kendricks and Patrick Peterson and to a certain extent Adam Thielen. But if we had kept those guys at their veteran contracts who weren't renegotiating their deals or taking pay cuts, and again, let me be clear, I am not of the position that a player should take a pay cut. The players put their bodies in harm's way. They need to make it, get your bag any way you
can. Go get your money. Yep.
So we're clear on that. Eric Kendricks is 30-some years old. He had lost a step and a half. He was nowhere close to what he was. But you said one of the other guys said yesterday he's still a top 10 linebacker. That's not even close. Okay.
No, you don't think he could be? No. You don't think he still play at a high level? Okay.
No. What Eric Kendricks in his prime was really good at was sideline to sideline. And when you lose a step, you can't get sideline to sideline anymore. Now, I will give Eric Kendricks and anybody on that defense a little benefit of the doubt playing in the Ed Donashell defense. We don't call him Ed Donatel. We call him Ed Donashell because he was always playing a 2-deep shell. And his idea of zero blitz was covering zero players and leaving the middle of the field wide open. It was just a bad fit for everybody last year.
Right.
But
it didn't work.
I mean, Patrick Peterson, he got a $12 million contract. Dalvin Tomlinson with Cleveland got way more money than we can afford. So on one hand, if we're going to say, hey, you let all your good players go. Well, if we kept all those good players, the salary cap hell that we're already in that you've pointed out would be even worse than what it is now. So
it was necessary for sure to do the things that you had to do. That's part of being in salary cap hell. And really, just to put it into perspective of where that came from, it came from one of the fans talking about how you weren't in salary cap hell. And it's listen, no, that's what that is. When you go and push your chips in trying to win championships, I mean, every team goes through it that's competing for titles. And under Kirk Cousins with Dalvin Cook, that run that you guys had, I mean, you guys had a shot at the strap. That's what it's all about.
I mean, if I'm being honest, they took their shot in 2018 when they signed Kirk Cousins after going to the NFC Championship game, and it was the right move at the time. Mm-hmm. I will not criticize them for that, despite the fact that they've only gone to the playoffs 2 out of 5 years with one playoff victory. What I will say was when they lost in the divisional round to San Francisco in 19 after they beat New Orleans for Kirk Cousins' only playoff win, I said, this window's closed, but they kept trying to keep that window open. And then they went 7-9 and 8-9 before going 13-4 last year. But they made all kinds of short-sighted this year, bad salary cap moves to where now last year, this year, and next year, you're paying the piper for all of those moves that you made. The problem I don't disagree. I'm not going to completely defend Kwesi because he's got 2 buckets. He's got buckets of not so good moves and he's got another bucket of, well, he had one hand tied behind his back. I will never forgive Kwesi for that trade with the Lions. I don't care if those players become Pro Bowlers or Hall of Famers. He left money on the table in that trade. So I agree with you there. But as far as his free agency moves, when you are coming into a situation where A, you have salary cap hell to deal with, and B, you have an ownership group that has said, no, we don't take a step back around here. We are competitive every year, and we don't care what the consequences are. You say what you need to say to get hired, right? That's why the guy who went to Chicago interviewed with us and they didn't hire him because he said, you guys have gone as far as you can with this group. You need to take a year off and rebuild and pay off your salary cap debts. And the Wilds don't want to ever do that. So I'll defend Kwesi as to he's had to maneuver within the constraints that he's had. I'm not saying he walks on water. I'm not saying he hasn't made some questionable decisions.
I hope not. Because my problem with Kwesi is he's created some of the problem that you guys are going to have to deal with. Now, I admitted that I was off on the Hunter part of it, but I still think he could have handled that better because you have a good player. You could have extended him out past where the dead cap was, so you wouldn't have to eat it and not have the player. So
that part I agree with. I wanted him to sign Hunter to a 3-year extension or at least 2 years to cover this year and at least one of those dead caps. That
He's
I agree
earned
with.
it. I mean, the thing is like he's been out there for you guys. Like he may not have been the guy that, the 20 sack a year type of guy, but he's been solid through his entire career with Minnesota. And it's, to me, it's sad to see it because I've watched it so many years in Detroit, how they mistreated players, great players that came in like Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. And it's like, when I see it happen to somebody else, I recognize it. And, next year, this is the year where you're paying the piper. And this is why I think that you're going to be last in the division this is the year. If you guys are good this year, then look out. Holy shit. Like if you guys can lose all of those people and turn it around that fast, look out. And I'll eat my words. I will come on this show and I will say, you were right. I was wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong.
I think you're a year ahead. I think this is, I'm not going to say last dance because last dance is when you've actually won championships and you're trying to win one more. This iteration of the Vikings, between Kirk Cousins, Danielle Hunter, Harrison Smith, Marcus Davenport, and Dalvin Cook, they will have $60 million in dead money on 2024 salary cap. I think that's part of the reason why Kwesi didn't want to go any further on Hunter is he knows he's got to sign Hawkinson, he's got to sign Darisaw, and of course Justin Jefferson, that he said, all right, I'm going to work within the constraints of my bosses want me to win this season. I still have him under contract. And by the way, the vast majority of Hunter's new money went into this year's cap. Well, we had 18 million. And they gave him 8 more off this year's cap.
Rip the Band-Aid off. But
at some point they have to do that. But I'll say this. I want to say last one. You're extremely overrating Dalvin Cook, if I may be honest. Dalvin Cook, he still got his home run ball. Absolutely. We saw that 3 or 4 times last year. But what you don't see is how many 1s, 0s, and -2s that Dalvin had all year. Yes, at the end of the year, he ended up number 6 in total rushing yards, but he was last in yards over expected. He didn't get what his offensive line didn't block for him. And we were constantly in second and long using him as a bell cow. And I get what you're saying about the running backs being devalued, but you don't pay a running back $14 million when his best asset is he's going to hit a couple of home run balls, but he's going to strike out a lot too.
Well, I agree with you there when it comes with it's too much money. It's too much money. And that's where you guys are the victim. You guys are the victim in the money. Like the money makes it so you have to get rid of. Yeah, he might not be worth $14 million, but he'd be worth 7. He's good enough.
We offered him 7. He didn't want it.
Right. He didn't want it. That's the thing is like we're in this era right now where the running backs feel disrespected, and they should feel disrespected because they touch the ball the second most times, and yet kickers make more money than them on average. It's not fair. It's not fair to them. I don't know.
They're the group that got. Guess what? If the quarterback market is going to increase tenfold, somebody's market's going to decrease, and it's the running backs. You're giving Daniel Jones $40 million a year.
Yeah, pay Saquon.
Here's an idea. Pay him $30 million so you have 10 more for Saquon because Daniel Jones needs Saquon. Okay. Right. But to the running backs in general, because all of mid-tier quarterbacks are making $35-40 million. So of course the running backs are going to get squeezed because you can churn and burn running backs left and right. So anyway,
like you need you need a general manager that is going to just tell the players how it is. Like one of the reasons I love Brad Holmes so much was the way that he handled Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams came in. They were like, okay, we're going to pay you $5.5 million a year. Okay. That's contracts on the table, 4 p.m. Okay. Let me know. 401 hits. They signed David Montgomery.
Yeah.
This is a business, right? And then he wanted to go get more money. So what happened is he goes down to New Orleans and they give him $4.5 million. His agent screwed him over because we offered him we wanted Jamal Williams here.
Yeah.
We need a bell cow back that's going to run the ball, 20 times a game. Jahmyr Gibbs ain't that. They want to throw him the football. They want the ball in space to him. So you want a guy that is going to tell Hunter, hey, listen, here's what we got. That's it. This is what we're offering our defensive ends. You're not Hunter anymore. You're the guy that needs to fit into my salary cap because I'm trying to win championships for this organization. I ain't trying to cater to every guy that comes in that has a contract bitch. I'm sorry, you got to go.
But didn't you earlier say that you don't like the way players get treated like that when we were talking about Kendricks?
I don't. But here's the thing: is he signed a big contract already? I don't like when players have to get to a point where they're disgruntled like that. That comes from a place that he was mistreated somewhere else along the line to get to a point where he's like, I'm at my breaking point. I ain't coming to training practice.
In fairness, let me quickly, and I know you've been on for over 2 hours, so I'll make this real brief. In 2018, when he was coming out of his rookie contract as a third-round pick, he signed an extremely team-friendly deal. Now, that's on him and his agent for signing that deal.
Right.
So we have to keep in mind that too. Part of the reason that he was only going to make $5 million this year is because the last couple of years, they've pulled money that he would have got paid this year into last year and the year before that to get him paid up somewhat closer to market value. So some of this is on him too. But I get your overall point. You have to draw a line somewhere. But the last thing I'll say on that note with Hunter is you also got to remember when Kwesi's got his ownership telling him, we cannot afford to lose Danielle Hunter. Our defense was the worst other than the Lions last year. And if we don't have Danielle Hunter, where the heck is our pass rush coming from? So you also got to think about if your boss is telling you, figure out a way to at least keep him for this year, then like I said, he did play hardball for a while. That's why he didn't do it in March. That's why he didn't do it until now. Finally said, okay, we got to find somewhere in the middle because my bosses say I got to give Brian Flores some piece on the defensive line.
Because you need me more than I need you. And that's why Hunter won. That's why he won. Because you guys can't go to free agency right now with that not money, even if you got rid of him or traded him and got a couple $4 million back. You ain't gonna get no pass rush like Hunter for $4 million. Ain't happening.
So, all I'll say is this. Well, I'll try and tune in more often. I don't know that I'll be able to tap in every day, but you guys got a great show. I think you need a little more balance, but at the same time, it's going to be a fun season, and I'm glad that our two games are two of the last 3 of the year because we won't have anybody be able to say, well, it was earlier on in the season and we hadn't worked gelled together yet. 2 late games in the season is going to be a lot of fun for the division.
That's good. That's good. We'll go ahead and plug your show, man, and then I'll say goodbye to everybody.
All righty. Well, my name is Justin, and it is Purple and Gold for Days. Purple and Gold for Days. I do exclusive content on the Vikings. I got 2 live shows. I got a live show Monday night and a live show Tuesday night, and then drop episodes in throughout the week as well. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Everybody, there should be more likes on this video with as many people as I saw in here. So hit that like button for our boy Russ here to help push this out for everybody. But thanks for letting me come on with you for a few minutes, man.
No problem, man. Thank you for coming on and representing the Vikings right there. That's Justin. He's one of the purple people eaters. And you know what? The Vikings were in witness protection for a lot of this offseason. Maybe they were just sitting on their high horse as the champions of the division, being like, I don't need to get into any of this stuff. But that was a good conversation right there. And I hope that we can bring some balance to your day. If you are a Viking fan, I want to be able to show you all of the different the looks at all of the different situations, because not everybody sees these things in the same way. And if I do speak too much Lions stuff, I'm sorry, I'm a Lions homer, but I really try to let these comments in here dictate to what we are doing. We found out yesterday that YouTube is the best spot to watch us and to keep along with the comments. So if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, that always helps us get out there. Shout out to NFC North, Open Mike, Detroit Lion News, the Detroit Lion Villain Squad, Mike the Bear fan, Bill the Packer fan, and Jeremy B, Smoking Jeremy B. So with that being said, I'm going to say God bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out. One Pride.
beat.